Today we're going to talk about our Wire EDM. This is not the ideal way to do it, but this is the way we're going to have to do for now. I'm going to go through and show you how we get the thing up and going and talk a little bit about it. We will come back, we'll have more on this than just what I'm doing in this one video, but I just want to go ahead and introduce you to our wire. I started making a video a minute ago and we got to the point where we had a low air pressure alarm, and I had to hang up because I'm videoing on my phone. I had to hang up and call maintenance to turn the air on. So what we basically have on a Wire EDM, we have a tank right here, a submergible tank, and the part is burnt underneath water. Okay, we're also talking about sinkers. Sinkers are burnt under what we call dielectric fluid, which is a mineral type oil. But we don't use oil in our Wire EDM. We actually use water. So when you look, you've got water right here, and that is deionized water. And the way this works, we have a water tank right here, and then you have a gauge that shows you how much water's in it. All right. Then over here, we've got a filtering system. You see filters and pumps and piping. What this filter does, it deionizes the water, okay? It deionizes the water to where it takes the ions out of the water. The ions is what electricity travels through. So when we're burning with electricity underwater, if you just had regular water in there, it would short out. But it's not going to do that because you have deionized water. We also have a chiller system. Right here you see our chiller. Okay, this chiller is like a refrigerator that cools the water as you're burning, because whenever we're burning and we have that spark and we're burning and roding the metal away with the wire, then it's going to be making that water hot. Well, we can't be overheating, so we have to have a chiller system. So that is how the wire is made up. Up here you see a spool of brass wire. We burn with 10,000ths brass wires, what we're going to be using. Now you could be using something different size, but that's what we're using, is 10,000ths brass wire. It shows you how to route the wire. That is the chart that you use when you're routing the wire in to rethread it. Okay, you rethread it. You got a little reel here that you can go through, and we thread the wire down, and it comes down to the top of this tube. Okay, this tube is our threading tube. This has actually got a automatic threader on it to where it threads the wire through the start hole of the part automatically. Okay, this uses heat that it will burn the wire in two. All right, so that's our cutter. This is where if it fails to thread, it cuts a piece off and pulls it back into here and dumps it into this little tank. All right, right here we got our upper die guide, and you got your upper flush cup, and right here you got a lower flush cup and your lower die guide. And the wire, when it gets finished with the wire, it takes it and dumps it out back here in the tank in the back, and you'll see that we've got a pile of wire back here in this tank. All right, this wire that's in the tank is not reused. You could go recycle it, I guess, but it's not reused. It's actually just once you burn with it, it's done. You can't go back and burn with it again. It actually changes the wire diameter whenever you're burning with it. We actually have on our tank, we have a rail system. Okay, here's our rails. Everything that's burnt has to be in the middle of these rails. Okay, so the travel of our machine is between these rails, and we have stroke limits to where it can't go but so far. Now what you can see, I don't know if you see it or not, the rails actually are beveled back to where that allows our lower guide and stuff to get in under the rails farther to where you have more travel. Okay, so that's a little bit about that. Now we're going to do setup and things on a different video, but I wanted to come through and show you a few different things on the machine, and we will actually take and set up a part and burn a part, and I'm going to show you how to burn the part and talk a little bit about the functions and all that kind of thing. But this video here is mainly just to give you an overlook of how the machine works and that kind of stuff. So when I look up here, I've got a set of menus, okay, and I've got some PowerPoint presentations that I can actually show you the different screens on the wire that I can show you through PowerPoint. So I'm probably going to do that, but you'll see me clicking on things on the screen. Actually, on our wire, we actually have what they call soft keys, okay? It's not a touch screen, it's just soft keys. And what you do, you push the button that lines up with the function up above, okay? For instance, when I look over here, if I click on position, if I was going to do an auto position, I would push the button that lines up exactly with the auto position right there. So if I push it, it goes into auto position. This is all the workpiece alignment to pick up on a start hole and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to get into all that setup and everything. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll go in, I'll get a part, we'll put on there and set it up. Now, I want to show you a little bit of stuff down here that we've actually burnt. Some things that we have to think about. If we're going to do a part, okay, this is a part that's a little rusty, okay, we wouldn't want to burn on something that's rusty. You'd have to clean the rust out of the start hole, but because it won't get a good pickup on it if you do something that's rusty. But what you see here, these are saw guides that we have cut out, but we actually have start holes. And if you've got a part, we talk a whole lot about punches and dies, okay? If you've got a part that deals with a punch, okay, if it's a punch, that means that it actually is going around the outside of it, and you're going to keep the part that you're cutting out, okay? If it's a die, it's going to be a part that you go in and you cut something out on the inside. This would be an example of where you would do like a die cut, to where you're not keeping the slug, you're keeping the part on the outside, so you're burning from the inside. So the start hole will be on the inside. You cut that and burn it out, and then you do that. So the inside of that would be like a die cut. The outside of the wrench would be like a punch cut because you're keeping the slug. All right, so just keep that in mind when we're talking about punches and dies. This part here could be put down and clamped in and burn out like this. Here's a little gear that's been burnt out, okay? If we have something that is round and has to be burnt out, we got to make a fixture of some sort of vise or something. We could take a round part and put in this hole, put the set screw on it, burn out whatever in the center of that. For instance, I burned a hex out of a piece the other day that was clamped in here, okay? It was clamped in here. The part that we cut the hex out of is gone. We've already used it, but we took and burnt that hex out of the inside of a diameter of a piece. So therefore, we had to make a fixture to hold that, because you've got to be able to hold the part on the clamp and hold it out over the rails to where you can get under it and burn it out, okay? You can't just put it in a vise if you're going to burn it around the outside of something. So that's a little bit about the fixturing and stuff that it takes. They make a lot of different fixtures and things that you can use on wire EDMs. Those fixtures are really expensive, the wire EDM vices and stuff, but a lot of the places that you will work will probably have some tooling and vices and things to hold their work on the wire EDM. Now I will tell you, this is a FANUC wire EDM. It has a FANUC style controller on it. There's a lot of different wires out there that have different controllers. So, you know, when I teach you this machine, there's a lot of different keystrokes that you may not have to do, but the same principles are going to apply to how you burn and that kind of thing. So we'll get into talking about all the stuff on that in a later video. So just wanted to get this to get you started, and we'll come back and pick up on a little bit after I get the part and get ready to get set up.